Okay, I will let everybody in. Hello, hello.
Oh, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
It's a rainy Friday in Toronto.
Morning.
Morning, morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you on this grey day in Toronto. Hi, Xenia. You always look fantastic. I want your backdrop. All right.
Hi, Jane.
Morning.
Morning. Now, good to see you, Dr. Kazi. So we'll be just starting in just a few minutes.
Yes.
James, good to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm well.
Well, that's good to hear. So many people here are starting to get sick again.
I'm sorry to hear that. We've just got to continue to be vigilant.
And unfortunately, too many people are not being vigilant.
Yeah, look, I'm a pro-masker. Right?
So am I.
Everybody's got their choice, but that's my stance. Oh, Jane's pro-mask too. Good. We should start the campaign, Jane. Perhaps if I can just say a few words before I hand it over to John. And everybody would know that I'm Jane Barrett, the Secretary General of the International Federation on Ageing. It's a sad and happy day today because it's happy because Anais Diaz is moderating for the first time this Global Cafe. And she's doing that because she's highly competent and very capable with a lot of experience that she's brought to the IFA. It's sad because this is Anais's last day at the IFA. But in saying that, I always believe that people come into our lives and leave our lives for all of the right reasons. And so I've had the great pleasure of getting to know Anais, and our best conversations are about dogs. Anais has Olive, and Greg and I have Billy and Lenny. But over the course of just 12 months, Anais has really delivered on very complicated projects on vaccination and also vision health with particular attention to biosimilars. So Anais, thank you for being with us at the IFA. I and we, all of the gathering today, wish you well in your next big adventure, and we look forward to knowing where you land, and particularly, hopefully, in the area of law. So I will now hand over the floor to Jun, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane. Hi, everyone. Welcome to IFA's Global Cafe, and thank you again to Jane's warm opening. So my name is Jun, and I will briefly review housekeeping. We will begin this virtual cafe with opening remarks, which will be followed by a moderated question and answer session. Please use the chat function along your bottom of your screen to indicate you have any questions and comments, and we will call upon you to post your question during the moderated session. And for sure, I will unmute you to post your question directly to our speaker. The virtual cafe is recorded and live streamed on the IFA's Facebook page. the virtual cafe the recording and the resources will be shared available on the IFA's website as well, and you will receive a follow-up email to the next one. Now it is my honor to introduce my colleague, project manager of the IFA, Ms. Anis.
Thank you so much. First, thank you so much, Jane, for the warm, goodbye, and it's a pleasure to be on my last day moderating my first Global Cafe. So thank you to everyone for joining us today. It is an honor to be moderating today's session and to be joined by Mr. Wassim Akram to discuss the topic of extreme poverty among older persons. Mr. Akram is currently a doctoral researcher at Örebro University in Sweden. He has a background in international relations from the University of Dhaka, as well as a broad-based research, evaluation, policy, and program management exposure in the field of development, with expertise in extreme poverty, socioeconomic resilience, social protection, food insecurity, social policy, and aging. In his PhD, Mr. Akram is exploring the lived experiences of the extreme poor persons in Bangladesh. He has been a visiting researcher at the Oxford Institute of Population Aging, at the University of Oxford, and at the Department of Social and Policy Sciences at the University of Bath in the UK. Prior to his PhD, he works in development cooperation with the European Commission's office in Bangladesh, as well as world-renowned organizations like BRAC University, Plan International, Action on Disability and Development, Oxfam. So it is my pleasure to be joined by you, Mr. Akram, today, and the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Anais, for your generous introduction, and thanks also to the participants and the audience for your interest in this talk. I would try to simplify my talk without using technical jargons and theories, and also I should apologize that the talk might be a little bit depressing for some audience because I'm talking about extreme poverty and the lived experience of it, and I have no way to do it, but this is how it is. Now, before I jump into the main discussion, I think it's important to clarify who I'm really talking about and in which kind of context. First of all, I'm talking about in the context of Bangladesh. And we know, most of us here, that extreme poverty is traditionally understood through the threshold defined by the World Bank, which is currently $1.9 a day. Bangladesh is a country with a population size of 170 million people. At present, we have around 15 to 16 million people who are aged 60 and more, and this is estimated to be 44 million by 2050. Around 43% of the total number of older persons in Bangladesh are categorized as poor, while 28.2% are categorized as extreme poor. But I'm not really talking about even this kind of extreme poor. During my PhD research, I interacted with a number of older persons, most of whom were living on less than 50 cents a day. If you compare 50 cents with $1.9 threshold, then those extreme poor are living in affluence compared to the one I am talking about today. Although 50 cents is an exceptionally low income, what really defined the extreme deprivation of these older persons I'm really talking about is the intensity of their suffering, the lack of power and agency, and the chronic form of insecurity that they experience in their everyday life. I prefer to define them as severe poor rather than extreme poor, because I need to make a categorical distinction for the analytical purpose. While everyone living on less than 50 cents per day is extremely poor, but not all extreme poor people have the such kind of severe low level of agency and power that I have observed in my participants. I will get back to this aspect in a while, but now let's talk about what I'm doing in my PhD. So I'm doing a PhD by publication, and so I'm in fact producing 4 different research papers which will together shape my PhD thesis. In the first one, I'm trying to understand the inter and intra-generational transfer of disadvantages and advantages that shape the extreme poor or late life for people. Now, if you see, the descent into extreme poverty of older persons is a life course process, and that is to a large extent decided at an early stage of life. Think about a child who is born in an extreme poor family with nutritional deficiencies, low cognitive capacity, poor learning process, often without schooling experience, or poor inheritance or resources, extreme gender-based discrimination, social stigma, and so on. It's not really that much difficult to imagine how he or she will end up when she turns 60. And this reflects that we need a strong intergenerational investment. In the second paper, I was trying to understand the methodological challenges. In fact, I have experienced those kind of methodological challenges when I was doing my fieldwork. And I found that the traditional methodological practices have lots of limitation when you want to research on severe poor people, like older persons. And I have, in this research, brought in the several microethical aspects that a researcher needs to be aware of. What I found in this research is that the older person that I have interacted with, they use frequently silence as a mode of communication, in addition to emotional expression. But is this silence voluntary or coercive or forced one? How can we even interpret silence of the older person scientifically? Because by research, we always mean words that is expressed by people. We do not necessarily focus on the silence and not that much even on emotion. And also this kind of experience, it has led to the question whether there could be a correlation between the silence of older persons and the silence around aging discourses in the policy domain. In the third one, I'm trying to understand the lived experience of aging in extreme poverty. What I found in my research is that extreme poor older persons are growingly othered and alienated by the family, society, community, and institutions where they live in. And this leads to severe agency erosion. Even if they have some sort of agency, but such agency doesn't lead to any kind of positive consequences for their life. And I consider this stage of poverty as agency poverty, which to some scholars is a kind of worst kind of poverty ever can happen in human beings' life. The reason is because when people go through agency poverty, they start to dehumanize themselves. They make themselves convinced that they are not like other social beings. They are not part of the mainstream. And that is the worst part of it. What I advocate in my research that agency poverty should be more concern for us than material and income poverty. Now, being othered, alienated, and with severe agency erosion, it leads them, the older persons, to live a life which is kind of socially dead life. Now, social death is an important concept which is there in social science literature since 1970s, but it is not really discussed that much in an aging context, particularly in developing countries who are living in extreme poverty conditions. Now, if you think about a dead person, because you are socially dead rather than physical dead, there is a perception that dead people do not claim anything. They are permitted to be neglected because to neglect them, it doesn't cost our society. And this is how the general perceptions are. Look at some of the recent stories that we have seen during the COVID time in Bangladesh, at least, many of which has been viral in social media, how the older persons have been thrown out of their home and thrown out in the street, suspecting that they might have had COVID. It happened during the initial stage. And we should keep in mind that societies like Bangladesh has a strong patron-client structure. If you can be a client, you can get some sort of thing or some sort of security in return from your patrons. But by saying so, I'm not really supporting the patron-client structure. What I want to convey here is that even in such a patron-client based structure, older persons who are aging in extreme poverty are not even considered as a client, because a client is able to offer something. But the extreme poor older persons have nothing to offer in return. So ultimately, they have to live in a kind of extreme insecurity. In the fourth paper, I'm trying to understand from social policy perspective. And there, I'm trying to problematize the role of family and trying to reposition family in the social policy debate in comparison, because we have mostly focused in our development effort and social policy mostly on individuals and households. The ultimate message is relationships matter a lot for individuals, for everyone. And I see, and even in my first paper, we have tried to conclude that extreme poverty is a kind of factor of relations, and extreme poor are extreme poor because they are relationally poor. They are relationally extremely deprived. And this extends to the relation of individuals to individuals, individual to family, individual to society, individual to institutions and individual to state. So the programs and policies should be designed in a way that extends this relation in a dignified way, rather only having a materialistic notion inside policies and programs. And maybe I'm even closer to the end of my talk, but I want to end with an African proverb. And that says, like, if you do not find any solution in the present, go back to the past. And this is how I saw older persons idealize or romanticize the role of relations. And it was so significant in my research. And they idealize the role of the family. But this doesn't mean that the role of the state is minimal. Rather, it means to promote the idea that social policies should be keeping in mind how people are relationally embedded in social relations and how families are really mattering for them. Therefore, policy should design in a way that can uphold the social relations, then widening the gap between individuals and those relations. Finally, one thing that really keeps puzzling me is whenever we discuss about extreme poverty in policy terms, there is such approach of securing the very, very basic needs of individuals who are living in extreme poverty. Rather, the consideration of how to promote a dignified life as a whole for every individual. And I do not really understand why does dignity seem to be too costly to ensure, and why it is considered to be such luxury item for the extreme poor, especially the older person. And maybe this could be further debated along with other questions if participants might have from the World Cafe. Finally, I need to make a disclaimer before I end, because I have talked about a kind of a special group, and we should keep in mind that Bangladesh is a developing country, and the severe poverty that I have reflected, in this short discussion or in the short talk, should not be generalized among other groups. Rather, I'm talking about a specific group with a small samples, and if we believe in the principles of leaving no one behind, as we have promised in the Sustainable Development Goals, then every single life counts, and every human being is entitled to live a life of dignity. And maybe this is where we should really focus on our attempts, our intention, our programs and policies, research, and everything else, so that we can ensure a dignified life for everyone that live around us. Thanks for your patience listening to me. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the question and the concern, and maybe we can start discussing the question that I have really thrown out. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Wasim, for the insightful presentation on extreme poverty in Bangladesh. It was really eye-opening. Some of the things that really resonated and that struck for me were that extreme poverty is a result of relationships, the importance of relationships and how these intertwine into the lived experiences of older persons in Bangladesh. And of course, the concept of social death in the context of aging was really insightful to me. So thank you so much. I do encourage everyone to post their questions in the chat, as Wasim mentioned. And I see that we have a hand up. So I will ask you, Shmuel, to unmute yourself and you can pose your question.
Yeah, I can ask.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask you next question. What, according to your opinion, need to be a role of governments and another official authorities, official institutions in reducing poverty among older groups of populations, and what, according to you, governments need to do for improvement social wellness, social well-being of older people?
Thank you for your question. I do not know whether I have understood correctly, because there was echo and some sort of dropping. The voice was dropping. But what I've understood, I mean, so far is you want to understand the role of state, I mean, how state could appear as a kind of, how to intervene in this kind of thing. And maybe you can ask the question in the chat as well if I didn't understand you correctly, and maybe you can post it there.
Yeah,
but what yeah.
Yeah, the question's in the chat. Sorry, I'll just read it out. Thank you for your question. What, according to your opinion, needs to be the role of governments and official institutions in reducing poverty among older persons of population? Yeah,
thank you. So, I mean, first of all, I mean, as I have tried to give the message, I mean, in the whole research, it's a kind of, it should be dealt comprehensively. So you cannot really, if you are considering extreme poverty or older persons or aging as from a life course perspective, you cannot really avoid what is happening in people's early stages of life. And that's how I say that intergenerational investment is really very much crucial. So how people really lead their childhood really matters, how he will end up in his adulthood and in later adulthood, that is also matters. This is the first thing. The other thing is, I think, in countries like Bangladesh, our policies and programs, no matter whether at what level it is, no matter whether it is a local level, whether it is a municipality, or whether it is a state level in general, I think the concept of dignity should be there, because still social protections and social welfare services, there are still a lot of stigmatizing component inside it, and that really prevents a lot of people even accessing in this kind of services and this kind of thing. So these dignity elements should be infused. So how we can do this, that is separate research that can be done. This may be discussed separately. But what we have found that people value their relations, people value their dignity at the end of the day, and maybe throughout their life, they want to live a dignified life. And I want to ensure, and I have found it in my data repeatedly, that people even conceive or perceive this level of dignity even after their death. And I can share plenty of experiences where people are sharing that the way they have perceived dignity, that they can feel what will even happen after my death. So how I am dying also matters a lot, because I want to foresee even ahead before my death that I have left a footprint and I have been valued, and I would be continue to be valued. Even my dead body and my future memories would be treated with dignity. So I think all these are really crucial, and yeah, that's what.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We do have another question, so I will call on Iraguhu Moses to unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Hello, I hope is able to hear me. My name is Moses, and I'm watching this from Uganda. And my question was whether there are things, countries that have better approaches on handling poverty, because from what you talked about on the issue of Bangladesh, it's something that I see here in Uganda. It's something that is very much similar to what happens in our country. I don't know whether there are things in places that have better approaches in handling this that one can learn from.
In terms of, in my research, I didn't really focus that much on the programming aspect, but that can be an interesting discussion, definitely, that we can learn from each other. But I can see, there is already a lot of things happening around. Most of it, like, for instance, I have focused on this aspect of intergenerational aspect of it, and that is really very crucial. And I think whenever we are talking about aging and this kind of aspect, so we should really focus on the success stories that is really implicated in different kind of, countries and different societies, so that people can learn mutually from each other. And also, like, things should be learned contextually, because in my research, one limitation that I have found that we have, because the northern context of understanding about aging doesn't really fit that much within the southern context. And we have always tried, because most of the aging theories and this kind of literatures are coming from the northern perspective. And when I was trying to apply those kind of theories and dimensions, at one point I found that it works until a certain point, but then it stops working. Then it doesn't, explain the condition that I'm really finding in my data. this can happen even in the programs, because for instance, think about the family, because when I was discussing, the family and relations issue repeatedly in here, when I present in Northern context, some people do not really complain, but a kind of, they want to like blame me that maybe I'm over romanticizing the role of family. The reason is because the role of family in Northern context is a little bit different, but think it about the perspective from Bangladesh, where relations are so much embedded in families and this kind of system. So the programs and policies should consider this kind of, dimensions, and otherwise they would definitely fail. And that really touches upon the issue of decolonizing our knowledge and practices. That we should learn it conceptually. Every country has its own culture, own dimensions, and that aspect and that motivation should be there, that we cannot really just implement like whatever we are getting from the top and whatever getting as a suggestion from donors or as a suggestion from on top of being motivated by the Northern literatures, Northern kind of programming and other things. It should be contextual, and that is, I think, one of the key to success.
Paul, thank you for that. I do encourage participants to pose their questions in the chat. But, oh yeah, we do have a question from Francis. If you would like to unmute yourself, you can please feel free to ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much for this very interesting discussion. I was wondering, if family is so important, why is it that older persons are often ostracized and abandoned by their families? It happens in many, many countries, it seems. So I just wonder why.
Thank you, Francis, for this question. I was expecting this question, and this has come repeatedly when I was presenting around, particularly in the department in the university, and that is really quite valid. But I want to answer it from the extreme poverty perspective, because what we have to keep in mind that people in the seminars and in different sharings, people used to comment that why people are really so selfish. In extreme poverty context, I would like to express that it is not like necessarily out of selfishness, first of all, because the family itself is going through a lot of transitions, and that has to be kept in mind. So when I'm talking about family, I'm talking about the well-being of the whole generation that are living under the family system. Think about the extreme poor family, where the working age adult himself is not having a kind of secured livelihood, and he has to run a family, and he has to feed a mouth of 5 people, 10 people. And the state and the policies have not really supported or aided him with the kind of other basic forms of security that he needed. So what has remained ultimately, that maybe I have not really researched on that part of it, but I'm just assuming from whatever I have got, because that's another layer. I have tried to understand all the things from the older person's perspective. So this kind of thing, not necessarily I should say 100%, but most of the choices that are coming from the family members is a kind of economic choice, I should say. Being separated from the older persons, living separately, migrating to a nearby city, leaving the parents to pull rickshaw or to tri-wheelers, and all these are, it's a kind of extreme choices that people make because they are forced to. They have to live, they have to survive. And think about the idealist context, like in a family where everyone is living together or co-residing. Maybe they're the parents, they're the person who is really struggling to manage the livelihoods for the family. And there are 2 children as well, and they have only food for 2 persons. Who will get it? Definitely the children first, the priority. Even the grandparents would say, no, the children should get it, and we can better starve. So you see, it's a kind of extreme choice that we push people in if we do not address with this kind of policies and other things. I think I would consider as kind of in extreme poor context, it's a kind of extreme economic choice that people are, it's a kind of economic behavior, I should say. Because in countries like Bangladesh, our policies and programs, the state and the market are not really that much pro-friendly to the extreme poor. And that's how they have to always rely on informal mechanisms to manage their lives and livelihoods.
Thank you. So now I'll call on Shmuel again. If you want to pose your question, I do have it in the chat as well in case that the connection is not good, but you can feel free to unmute yourself and pose your question. Or I can ask the question. What opportunities created COVID-19 pandemic for stopping poverty among older persons?
I want Ilona to give my question. Okay, I have question. What opportunities created COVID-19 pandemic for stopping poverty among older people?
So what opportunities COVID-19 has created for older persons, if it is in summary, is it right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. First of all, I mean, in the context of Bangladesh, I didn't really kind of, get time to look on those kind of aspects in my research because I was following in a different level. But what I have understood is from whatever I have read from the newspapers and the way I try to understand from the social medias and other things, is I think the most important dimension that we get that have benefited us to understand is about the society, how society reacts to different kind of people, to different kind of contexts, and how it makes people vulnerable or to put them in a kind of privileged position. And that is, I think, very interesting dimension of it that the COVID has brought us. So we know society in a different way now than the past. And that is one of the things that we may capitalize for our future, I should say.
Okay, thank you for that. We do have another question, so I will call on Maura Allen if you want to pose your question to the group. Or I can ask the question, and we do have it here in the chat. Agency debt, can you please expand on this? What do we need to do to kindle agency?
Can you please put it again?
Oh, sorry. So the question was, in agency debt, please expand on this, and what can we do to kindle this?
I mean, again, yeah, thanks for the question. And first of all, there is still limitation because I'm still trying to understand that the extent of agency problematic within the extreme poor people and within the older persons particularly, how it shapes and how it really works within the daily dynamics of people and how it really shape as time goes on. We need to understand it more detailed way through the lived experiences, through the micro kind of processes that is happening in the society. This is first of all. So whatever account I have presented in terms of agency, that is a kind of very limited version of it. So first of all, we need to understand the detailed process of it. And then we can maybe think about how we can address this further. But definitely agency, dignity, and the othering, it's a kind of, because it's not only how do you feel, it's also how society inscribe all those identities and labeling and stigmatization and whatever it is coming from the society itself. So both the process needs to be understood. And without understanding the whole dimension in detail, so maybe would be running short of ideas how we can handle this in kind of in the sense of programs and programming or policies dimensions. But definitely it's not to be addressed from a different fronts where people's dignity can be afforded.
Okay, thank you. We do have a question from Noor Kazi, if you would like to unmute yourself and pose your question.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
This is the Kashim, I mean, Bangladesh. I am from Bangladesh. I am very much happy today. You are here, Kashim Akram from Dhaka University. I am also from Dhaka University. And I have done the program at a McGill. And one of my paper was on Bangladesh. And I went to Bangladesh 2000 to take my the datas, and I went to the organizations like in the Agargaon, the Praveen Shava Sangha. So, and other the Jaidapur big shelter of the older people, and all together I have very much old data in my brain, but my topics was at McGill, my PhD and master's program on family caregivings, and it is values we are carrying from our country of origin as an ethnic population in Canada. I am living in Ontario, and it is a Scarborough area, and I am related to the International Federation of Aging for 5 years, doing my research, little view of the United Nations for the International Federation of Aging. So, Mr. Zay, Madam, Mr. Barre, and Mr. Zain, my boss was Mr. Mr. Barrett, and Zain Barrett, and I was work with them, and all together I have done my research papers and everything. Until now, I am related with the International Federation of Aging, regular. And my beloved organization, International Federation of Aging, and my research, everyday research, this is ethnicity and the elderly people. So the vulnerability of Bangladesh, you are research are very much, I am very much happy. I got one person, and there are more people working in Bangladesh, I know. And I was a social work discipline at a McGill. And at the same time, I have master degree at McGill and on social work, on aging and family caregiving, family values. And at the same time, the Dhaka University. And I was a professor of 15 years, Bangla College, and the Abu Dhar Ghifari College, and at the latest hour, I was in Muhammadpur Central University College, and I left for 2004 for Canada. So I am here last 28 years. Altogether, I am a researcher. My question is, latest development of Bangladesh, the government, what type of the laws or the opportunities has been created by the government of Bangladesh. Could you tell us for the International Federation of Aging? It will be very big things for me, for my further research. Question is Bangladesh government.
Thank you, Mr. Nurkazi. It's nice to know you. So in terms of your question, I mean, I should say one of the major development that I have experienced, I mean, during my last visit in Bangladesh, which was just in December last year. And one thing I came to know that is earlier the old age allowance was means tested. So now they have almost universalized the old age allowance program. That is definitely a good progress in that sense. The other thing is that the government is really trying to promote this parental custody law that was formulated in 2013, and that is now trying to that is one of the major pillars. But if you see in this parental custody law, still it doesn't really, it gives the pressure, I should say, pressure to the family in terms of taking care in every possible senses to the older persons. For the culture, from the cultural perspective, it makes sense. But what I wonder is there is no supporting elements or supporting aid in terms of resources and other legislation which says that, you know, how the family in general would be protected from every sense of vulnerability or insecurity that particularly in extreme poor context people really experience. So that is really one of the biggest limitations, because you cannot really definitely assign the responsibility to a family just, I mean, publishing a policy document or publishing a policy or something, some sort of law. So that's need to be like definitely equally keep in mind in the next stage, that how the family as a whole, for every single member of the family could be protected. And that's how the vulnerable people could be finding the niche within such kind of system. So unless you address those concerns, as people are asking, why people then abandon the older person and this kind of, I understand that no one is secured. No one has been protected in a comprehensive way, from children to the teenagers, from the adult age working person, late adulthood, the women of the family. So you see everyone in the family in the context of Bangladesh is having different sort of insecurity and vulnerability. And if this is so, what can happen inside the family system? It's definitely not going to work that much smoothly. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I think I'll pose a question that one of the questions that comes to my mind is, one of the things that you mentioned was intergenerational investment and the importance of that, especially how that you brought in the concept of the family. So in your research, have you seen in, for example, the case of Bangladesh, any intergenerational investment, or that's the piece that's missing in order to protect older persons?
In this research, what we have tried to do that I have been benefited from 72 households that we have followed over 5 years. So I was trying to understand qualitatively what are the tensions and elements that really keeps people in extreme poverty, and that intergenerational dimension really have come quite frequently. So it, as I have raised in my talk as well as hinted there, is from education to the nutrition to the gender dimension. In every possible senses, the whole generation has some sort of tension and this kind of ambivalence and this kind of contrasting picture or conflicting issues that are suffered by extreme poor families. And ultimately, this has implicated from a different range of generations in different way. So ultimately, this is accumulated over the lifetime, and that's how when you are ending up in extreme poor, you end up with nothing. So you do not have any resources. And by the time state intervenes, and that is also another crucial finding. So by the time state intervenes, it's too late. So at that stage, the intervention doesn't really work that much. For instance, think about like, without making the older persons, to be, because in extreme poor context, the older persons are definitely active until the day they die. They have to keep working through kind of daily laboring, through kind of manual work, through being paid in kind. So no matter whether working as a housemaid in the nearby house or working as a day laborer in the nearby field, they do. So the concept of retirement and other things is not really, it's a kind of funny concept, for those kind of older persons, no matter whether he is living in his life in 70s and 80s. So you see that when the, by the time you intervene with something at the age of 70 or onwards, it might be too late to bring back or to reverse back the damage that has happened in the past. So all of the things should be really pre-planned, and for this, we really need a lot of research, definitely. But definitely this intergenerational dimension is quite strong among extreme poor families, and that need to be considered to protect the people from falling in a kind of vicious circle of extreme poverty, which they cannot escape until they die.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate your response. And of course, I do encourage our attendees to pose any final questions, but since we do have some more time left, Wasim, I know that you posed a question at the beginning, at the end of your talk, I must say. So if you want to tie back to that, I'm happy for you to give some insights into your original question, not to spearhead our conversation at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it's an interesting question, but and also maybe in the near future, I would keep exploring, on that front as well, the dignity aspect of it. Why it is really still considered to be so luxury that we do not give it a consideration. That's one of the questions that I have raised here. Because, now resource limitation or resource scarcity has never been a problem, because, when I was discussing about although they are really very much poor, they were not really hinting the aspect of care. They were not hinting that they have been starving. So this came as a kind of secondary kind of priority. So what came in the forefront is the relational as healthy relations, the dignity, the self-esteem, the social esteem, the social prestige, the social identity. This came as a kind of forefront. I mean, before even the mention about, although they are living in a situation like starvation. So that has really changed completely mind. So people quest for dignity is a kind of ultimate concern. Then what really cost the society in general, or even individual, the state, to ensure a kind of minimal dignified life? And that was my question. And that I have no answer for this, definitely. But what I know from the literature, there are many societies, the indigenous groups, where resources are very limited, but people have some sort of dignity that they express, the way they express their happiness. So can we conclude that to ensure dignity, we do not necessarily need huge resources? So how do we change the overall societal understanding, the practices, and all these aspects, how we can really pay respect to people, how we can ensure it's not about dignity of the older person, it's about dignity as a human being. I mean, for the children, for every sort of, for every generation. So that really needs a kind of, lot of understanding. Whether we should start, where should we start even? Do we start from the childhood? How should we start? Do we start from the school? Where should we start to change? Do we need a lot of behavior change communication? What kind of communication we should make? What has really deviated the whole society from thinking about this kind of element? So maybe we should go back to discuss about this kind of thing. And I believe that there are a lot of opportunities and scope through which this discussion can be revived. But we are all busy with something else. For Bangladesh, we are focusing on GDP. We need growth. Now we have 2000 and we have per capita income of almost $3,000. But what does it mean for this person of zero who is living his life or her life of less than 50 cents? It's not about the 50 cents, it's about the dignity she has lost. So yeah, I wanted to share this dimension only.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Of course, it's really important to understand these concepts, and you made really clear the difference between, one of the things that struck me in our first conversation was understanding the difference between poverty and extreme poverty, and I think that has really come to light today. We do have a question from Francis, so I will invite you to unmute yourself so you can pose your question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. At the United Nations, Bangladesh has indicated its support for an international convention, a legal instrument to protect the rights of older persons. This is being discussed by the General Assembly's open-ended working group. Do you think such an international legal instrument would make a big difference for the government in determining their policies and programs, bearing in mind, for instance, there is international instrument to eliminate discrimination against women. There's an international instrument for the protection of rights of persons with disabilities. And if so, how do you see the government of Bangladesh in pushing this forward in the international context?
Thanks for this question, and that's quite interesting. I should say that the need of this kind of instrument definitely is there, because it creates a kind of, no matter what level of it's a kind of create a kind of push, and that is really very important from different fronts, and particularly to impact on policies and to allocate resources and attention to manage those kind of commitments that we have delivered to the international community. But then at the same time, I mean, also, like, for instance, if you see that in countries like Bangladesh, particularly, I should say Bangladesh, it has really progressed a lot in terms of the rights of the disabled people, in terms of, making, I should not say it has happened quite robustly, but at least, the way we see the disability rights now, it was not there even in the 15 years back. But compared to this kind of thing, we see a kind of policy reluctance or policy indifference in terms of aging. So that really brings back to the aspect of silence. Why such kind of silence is there? So is it because, and also, I mean, I didn't really specify that much in my talk, that one of the And the other way I define these older persons or the severe poor older person is that there is a growing subordination happening. So by this subordination, I mean that their voice are not really politically ineffective. So does it mean that when you are not politically effective as a subject can also create a kind of policy gaps as well at the same time? So the way we see has the disability rights has really become so, focused in the last few years, at least because I have worked in the Action on Disability and Development, ADD International, as well. And also I was overseeing research for Handicap International and HelpAge International at the same time, being part of a larger program. But we didn't see the aging agenda that has been that much active. So what might be the reason is we need to reactivate the political, power of people to claim their own rights, to claim to be politically effective in the society, so that their voice could be pushed upward and policies could be more activated, and that's how the whole thing could be changed. But definitely policies and programs and from this kind of organizations and this kind of international bodies create a lot of impact as a kind of push, and we should keep continuously to push for making this kind of push, definitely.
Thank you for that. And I will take one last question. So I will invite Alice to unmute yourself, because I think this question ties into some of the things that you just mentioned, and it's a good way to wrap up this important discussion. So Alice, if you could unmute yourself and pose your question, please.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody from Ireland. Lovely to be talking to you all today, and this is a wonderful talk. I'm really enjoying this, and well done on your PhD. My question is, what role do you think empowerment and values-based approaches to policies could improve dignity and person-centered societies? I suppose I'm talking about the empowerment here of the person themselves and that whole idea of self-worth. And as you say yourself, how do we give that voice to people, but encourage them to use their voices in a way that makes their lives more whole and better? So that's my question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Alice, for this question. And this concept of empowerment, all these things are definitely, very crucial. But what I'm trying to understand that these elements should be there, but also we need to understand what people really perceive, how people really perceive their own well-being and dignity. Because, and that's how, because I consider this particular group as a kind of, a separate subcategory of subordinized group. And Gayatri Spivak, who is the pioneer of this concept of subordination, I should say, she is saying that we need to learn how to learn from them. And I think that we still need to learn from the older persons, how we need to learn to how we can reflect their voices in our policies and programs. And that is not really happening. That's how I have, bringing this concept of decolonizing our knowledge, our practice here. That's really very important because, these are very idealized topics and these are universally debated, but these are not contextually understood that much. Because dignity, if you see, even starting from Aristotle, Plato, all those people have really discussed a lot. We have all those theories and other notions, but how much do we know empirically from people's voice? And even we do not have an idea how we represent them in terms of programs and practices, in terms of the research. And in my next attempt, I don't know how much I would be succeeded. One of my attempts to how I can decolonize myself, my own orientation, whether I'm really learning or I'm learning through filtering the voices that I'm getting. Whether the filtering that I'm making is really kind of, I consider any kind of filter of the voices or the knowledge that we get from the community is a kind of injustice itself. So how we can really make it or keep it very raw and virgin to infuse it further in the policy domains and program domains, not only in the academic literature. And that needs a kind of very intensive process. As a researcher, I feel I am still corrupted, a lot of corruption inside me through which I cannot really reflect the way they really need to be represented. So because I didn't go through this process yet, I do not know, how should I answer this? Because otherwise, as a development practitioner, I see this empowerment, representation, focus group discussion, participation, all these things happen. But at the end of the day, believe me, I have assessed a lot of projects and proposals in European Commission. I have led a portfolio of 30 million euro. And all the same time, every time I see that people talk about, well, we went through this kind of processes, learning from the people, from the grassroots. At the end of the day, program is same the way it happened 20 years back. I don't know how should I answer. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Azim, for your insights today. And the Global Cafe is coming to an end, so I will thank everyone for joining us today. In a couple of moments, I'll return to you, Azim, for any final key messages and a brief conclusion. But thank you again, and your research is really interesting. I learned a lot today, so thank you for that. We do encourage everyone to stay updated by accessing the IFA resources on the website. Azim was kind enough to share some documents with us, which will be uploaded there. And I will introduce our Global Cafe for next week. I hope that everyone here can join us and discuss with us. We will be having Dr. David Bass and Ms. Kathy Kelly, who will be shedding light on dementia programs, best practice caregiving finding programs at work. So I hope that you can join us next week for this compelling discussion. So thank you so much again for joining us, and I will pass the floor on again to Azim for any concluding remarks.
Thank you. First of all, first of all, thank you for inviting me in this talk. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I think I really love to engage with people with different backgrounds. And in my research, what I always do that more than even engaging with academics, I try to engage with practitioners, because ultimately they are the people who really take all the things forward. So whenever I go to Bangladesh, I try to make sure that I talk with the practitioners and the people who are really working directly with the people. Otherwise, our research and other things doesn't make any impact in that sense. So we should keep debating. We should keep learning from each other. Definitely, no matter what is happening where, no matter it is happening in the northern and southern, whatever. So we can learn definitely, and that's cross kind of learning, enrich each other to have hybrid perspective of whatever we are getting, and that's really very crucial. Finally, I want to say that we should, as a kind of summary, my take from my PhD as well, that is we should keep activating the relations. And that is really very crucial, because relations matter for people. If people cannot live in the society, no matter whether it is a child, no matter whether it is a billionaire, no matter who is extreme poor, they cannot live beyond relations. We are so embedded with the relations. At least in countries like Bangladesh, these are very crucial. I could have shared a lot of examples, where how people really perceive relations and how they share that why relations really matter. But there is no scope so much, but we can definitely discuss in other forums. But relations matter a lot. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for joining us today, and Wassim, for your time. We really do appreciate it. I will take a moment today to thank the IFA staff, as these global cafes don't happen in isolation. So thank you so much, June, for your work, and Rashmi. And as Jane mentioned, today is my last day, so thank you Jane, for allowing me to moderate today's session. It's been an honor and a privilege. So thank you today for your support and all the IFA staff. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.